This is TWiT.
Okay, so Albania versus Iran. Risky Business News headlined their story this way. They said, Albania cuts diplomatic ties with Iran in the first ever cyber-related escalation. I don't have a strong emotional tie to either Albania or Iran, though it's worth noting that Albania is a member of NATO. Fortunately, at this time, cyberwar mostly amounts to, transient inconveniences, right? Like, some office can't process green cards or something. But what's so worrisome about this is that it feels as though it might be predictive of worse things to come, and eventually perhaps involving global scale adversaries. Okay, anyway, so here's what happened. The Albanian government announced last Wednesday, the 7th, that it would be cutting all diplomatic relations with Iran in the aftermath of a major cyber attack. And this marks the first time ever that a cyber attack has escalated this severely in the political realm. In a recorded video statement published on YouTube, for anyone who's interested, I have the link in the show notes, Albania's Prime Minister, Edi Rama, said that after concluding an investigation into the incident, they found indisputable evidence that Iranian state-sponsored hackers were behind the cyber attack that took place nearly 2 months prior on July 15th. So they didn't just jump at this immediately. They did some investigating. In fact, they involved Microsoft. That cyber attack crippled multiple Albanian government IT systems. Rama gave Iranian diplomats 1 day, 24 hours, to close their embassy and clear out, while the Iranian government naturally denied any involvement in the attack. NATO, the U.S. White House, and the U.K. government all published statements in support of the Albanian government and supported its attribution of the attack to the Tehran regime. The U.S. called Iran's attack on its NATO ally a troubling precedent and promised to, quote, take further action to hold Iran accountable. And I did see subsequently, but I didn't track it down, that the U.S. had announced sanctions on Iran specifically due to this attack, this cyber attack on Albania. And of course, although Iranian officials may deny their involvement, the proof lies in the malware used, which was discovered in the July 15th attack. Both Mandiant and Microsoft have linked back to multiple past instances of Iranian cyber espionage operations and tooling using the same stuff. Microsoft, which has participated, as I said, in the Albanian government's response to the incident, said it was able to link the incident to 4 different Iranian APTs, advanced persistent threat groups, and detailed how these 4 groups have been working together to breach Albanian government networks at least since last year to establish the proverbial foothold. Then finally in July, under the auspices of the Iranian government, which apparently decided it was time to act, the attack was launched. Microsoft says the 4 groups appear to work under the guidance and control of the Iran Minister of Intelligence and Security, MOIS. The 4 groups with numerical designations, there's Dev 0842, which deployed the ransomware and the wiper malware. Dev 0861, a different group, gained initial access and exfiltrated data. So now we're seeing, specialization among individually identified groups. We have Dev 0166, which exfiltrated the data, and Dev 0133, the group which probed the victim's infrastructure initially. So both Mandiant, which, by the way, Google, remember, purchased in March for $5.4 billion, and Microsoft concur in their statement that the Iranian attack is directly connected to the Albanian government's harboring thousands of Iranian dissidents, part of an exiled opposition party named the People's how do you say it? Mujahideen, something like that. Anyway, organization. I meant to look up the pronunciation before the podcast, and I forgot. Anyway, also known as MEK, which I like to say more easily. At the request of the U.S. government, MEK was given shelter in Albania in 2016 after the Iranian regime declared the group a terrorist organization and started hunting its members. MEK members were planning to hold an annual summit on July 21st. But that summit, which was titled the Free Iran World Summit, was canceled because of terrorist and bomb threats. Microsoft says that the threats and the Cyber 15th cyber attacks were part of a broader effort from the Iranian government to go after the group and its host country. So, whereas past operations typically involve coordinated social media campaigns, data leaks, vague threats, and declarations from Iranian officials, the deployment of a data wiper and ransomware appears to have crossed a line, which Albanian and NATO officials are not taking quietly, though Albania's prime minister tried to play down the aftermath of the July 15th attack and said the government systems were now restored. The attack crippled government operations and official websites for weeks. And in fact, moments after Iranian officials left the embassy, Albanian police raided the building, which is unusual, in search of any incriminating evidence that might have survived, the typical hard drive bashing and document burning practices of fleeing diplomats. Conducting this raid was seen as extreme, but the general sentiment is that NATO partners backed and pushed Albania into this action as a way to signal to other cyber-aggressive countries that a line is being crossed when entire government IT networks are being wiped just because someone wants to attack a dissident group that they're annoyed with, and, of course, attack those who are harboring the group.
I think that's appropriate. I really do. Don't you?
Which?
You have to draw a line in the sand. No.
Oh,
defend.
yes. Yeah. Oh, yes.
To say, no.
To draw the line.
Yeah,
absolutely.
This shall not pass.
And, Leo, I mean, the thing that's worrisome about this, as I started off saying, is that, what if this is a harbinger? Like, what if, we've talked about how weird it is that, like, the U.S. and China are apparently right now involved in, percolating, kind of going on in the background cyber attacks against each other. Well, the problem is cyber is becoming, sorry to use that term in isolation, Leo, the cyber world is becoming
cyberspace, man.
It is, it's becoming where the world operates.
Yeah.
And so attacks there are real attacks.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Increasingly.
And they can be deadly. I mean, it's no reason to treat it any less seriously than a rocket, and a mortar attack, I think.
Right. And so I agree with you completely. I think that it is good.
You need a proportional response.
That the world said, okay, this is not all right.
Right.
We know it was you, Iran. We know why you did it. We know you're not happy. We don't agree with your unhappiness, and you've just attacked a member of NATO. So there's even if it was a cyber attack.
Yeah. Now I understand the risk is that it will escalate into worse and worse back and forth, but I don't see any way out of that. This is the whole issue of any military force. You have to. There are bullies, and so you need a defense. You can't just let bullies be bullies.
And wait till you get to the fourth book in this sci-fi series.
I can't wait.
You want some bullies? Oh, baby, I've got some bullies. And it ended up being a bit of a back and forth. Last Wednesday, the diplomats were given 1 day to clear out and close the embassy. 2 days later, Last Friday the 9th, Albania was hit by another major cyber attack, which has officials once again pointing the finger at Iran. The attack hit Albania's Total Information Management System, as it's called, TIMS, which is an IT platform belonging to Albania's Ministry of Interior, used to keep track of people entering and leaving the country. According to a series of tweets from Albania's Minister of the Interior, 6 border crossing points were impacted and experienced border crossing stoppages for at least 2 days. This included 5 land crossings at Greece, Kosovo, and several in Montenegro, and at the airport near Albania's capital. Ministry officials banned the attack on the same hand, as they put it, that hit Albania's IT network in July, in other words, Iran. So, let's hope that the world is watching and recognizes that, cyber attacks are not going to be treated, like anything less than the attack that they really are, especially when they, seriously impact government infrastructure.